Let's talk about starting an LLC in PA. And the thing here is that if you have to start an LLC in Pennsylvania, you have to follow a very strict process. I mean, not a strict; it's actually a very formal process. And but PA is a very business-friendly state. You have a lot of legislative structures and processes that are there to kind of help you out. But for you to actually start an LLC in PA and really do things real fast, you need to really be you need to be methodical. Okay, so let me quickly walk you through what you need to really pay attention to. So here is an overview. I want you to pay it. I want you to really focus here. The thing is that the reason so many new business owners choose an LLC as their business structure is because you have the flexibility. That's number one. But you also have the liability protection. And what happens here is that this formation type actually separates a business owner's personal assets from the company's assets. And members, which are LLC owners, this is how they're called, members, they can also choose between a member managed and manager managed operating structure. So to form a Pennsylvania LLC, you need to register your business with the state. I'll go in details later on. I'm giving you first the overview. So you first need to register the business with the state. That means what? It means filing formation paperwork with the Pennsylvania Department of State, typically referred to the Secretary of State's office in other states. And this formation paperwork is called a certificate of organization. In PA, your certificate of organization needs to be accompanied by a new entity docketing statements. New entity docketing statements. So before filing your documents, however, you will need to name your limited liability company and appoint a registered agent. And so once your formation paperwork is filed, you need to create an operating agreement and obtain an EIN, so an employer identification number. And so this steps that I'm going to share with you in today's conversation, they will designate how your business will be managed and set your company up as a legal entity in the eyes of the IRS. Okay. And so in today's conversation, I really want to walk you through how to actually set up your PA LLC in 5 steps. 5 pretty straightforward steps, but very, very important steps that will not only make sure that you are compliant with the law in PA, but also compliant with taxation, with tax rules that the IRS and the Pennsylvania taxation department have actually have all the rules that they are following. Boss, welcome back to the show. It's really wonderful to have you here. Make yourself comfortable. You are going to enjoy today's conversation. So the very first step in actually starting an LLC in Pennsylvania, you have to name your Pennsylvania LLC, okay? And basically name your business. So your business name provides the public with a first impression of your company. So it's important to choose one that conveys your desired brand image. So PA has LLC naming rules. You need to adhere to Pennsylvania LLC and business naming rules. For example, Pennsylvania requires all LLC names to include the phrase limited liability company or an abbreviation of the term, such as LLC, L.L.C. Limited or limited, so LTD. And LLCs in LLC in PA are also prohibited from using names that contain any variations of the word corporation or make it seem as if the business is a government agency. Finally, a Pennsylvania LLC cannot use a name that is too similar to any name already being used by another business in the state. So it's one of those things where you have to actually go in the database and search. Now let's talk about registering and reserving business names. So before you can reserve or register a business name for your Pennsylvania LLC, you need to make sure it is not already taken. So you can actually just go to, there's a Pennsylvania business search page that can help you with that part. So it's actually on, like you go on the State Department's website and basically you get it there. Okay. So once you have decided on your business name, registering that name is as simple as filing your business formation documents, which we'll actually cover in a later step. So there is also something called the fictitious name. So if you're starting an LLC in PA, you may also want to consider applying for a fictitious business name or FBN, also referred to as doing business as or DBA names. Fictitious names are used when a business wants to conduct business under a different moniker than its official company name. Okay, and basically, let's say, let me give you an example. A company with the official name of ABC Toys LLC wants to sell board games online as ABC Games. A company with the official name of ABC Toys LLC wants to sell online as simply as ABC Toys. And a company with the official name of XYZ Computers LLC wants to sell MacBooks or on Amazon as XYZ Macs. And so there is a fictitious business name form that you need to really pay attention to. And also you have to think about trademark. So trademarks are kind of important. If you want to further protect your Pennsylvania LLC name and or logo from being used by other entities, you may want to apply for a trademark. Placing a trademark on a company name or logo helps keep it from being copied and also gives you standing ground in case of copyright infringement. So this is kind of important. Whilst I want to quickly remind you of today's topic, we are having a conversation about how to start an LLC in Pennsylvania. So the first step is you need to actually name your Pennsylvania LLC. The second step is you need to designate a Pennsylvania registered office. And it's one of those things where you got to really pay attention to. Now, registered office is kind of critical because this is actually the office that's going to actually interact with state authorities. In most states, this is known as a registered agent, and in Pennsylvania, they call it registered office. So it's the same thing. So if you hear the term registered agent, registered office, same thing. Your registered agent is an individual or business entity that receives legal notices on behalf of your business. And so there are some registered agent requirements in Pennsylvania. So every Pennsylvania LLC is required to appoint a registered agent, and your Pennsylvania registered agent must be a resident of Pennsylvania, have a physical mailing address in the state of Pennsylvania. PO boxes will not suffice. And what are the responsibilities here? So a registered agent's responsibilities in Pennsylvania include being available during regular business hours to receive notices, service of process, accepting legal notices and important government mail, from Pennsylvania authorities. And can you serve as your own registered agent? Yes. Legally, you are allowed to serve as your own registered agent. However, there are a few reasons why this is not a good idea. You want to protect your privacy. That's really important. You also basically do not want to be embarrassed in front of clients, investors, or colleagues when being served with subpoenas or notifications of a lawsuit in front of them. You don't want to do that. So it's just better to actually hire professional services instead. And so when we talk about registered agent services, there are many of them. And so the thing is that if the state cannot find your Pennsylvania registered office, you are in trouble, because they have to be able to contact you, especially when sending you legal notices. If they can't, you risk not receiving important notifications or things like lawsuits and legal actions against your business. So if your registered office cannot be reached, your business could also fall out of compliance with the state of Pennsylvania. This could result in your LLC being dissolved by the states, which means you would lose your liability protection. The third thing you want to do here is to file Pennsylvania Certificate of Organization. So number one, you want to name your Pennsylvania LLC. Number two, you want to designate your Pennsylvania registered office. Number three, you want to file Pennsylvania Certificate of Organization. Now, one of the most important steps to forming your LLCs is to actually file a PA Certificate of Organization. This is actually a document also referred to as Articles of Organization in other states that registers your business with the state of Pennsylvania. Filing such important documentation for your business can be intimidating. So basically, it's just one of those things where you want to reach out to a professional service, so that you have a clear idea what you really need to do. And so the process for filing a certificate of organization, it really so the form in Pennsylvania, that form is called DSCB 158821 rather, Form DSCB 15-8821. So this is actually, and you file this via the Pennsylvania Department of State. After filing in all of the after actually filling in all the required information, you can submit that form via mail or online, along with your $125 filing fee. You will also need to include your new entity docketing statements, which will basically cover later on. So information to include in your Pennsylvania Certificate of Organization. Basically, you have the name of your Pennsylvania LLC, including the designator. So here we're talking about limited liability company or one of the abbreviations listed earlier, right? L.L.C. LLC, LTD. Or that kind of things. You have to also put your registered office information, the name of each organizer/member, an election for the effective date of the organization, either as soon as the document is approved by the Department of State or a future effective date. The designation, if your LLC is a restricted professional company, for instance, a legal firm, medical office, chiropractor, vet clinic, or accounting office. A designation if your business is a benefit company, in other words, has the purpose of creating general benefit to the public. If the business is a benefit company, you will also need to check a box if the benefits can be specified and then list them in detail. And also, you had to put the organizer signatures, really important. And also, there is a new entity docketing statements. So, along with your Pennsylvania certificate of organization, you are also required to submit a new entity docketing statements. The form here is Form DSCB 15-134A. So this form should include your LLC's name, including the designator, the name and mailing address of the individual who is responsible for the LLC initial tax reports, a description of your business activities, your LLC's FEIN, so your Federal Employee Identification Number. And so we'll talk about how to obtain FEIN in step number 5, and the month and year of the tax or fiscal year's end. Very critical. And you also got to think about whether the LLC is member managed versus manager managed. And it's one of those things where you also have to think about the certificate of amendments. You got to think also about a decennial reports. But those, I will be basically talking about those things in another show. Boss, I want to quickly remind you of today's topic. We are having a conversation about how to start an LLC in Pennsylvania. Step number 4, you want to create an operating agreement. So you need to create a Pennsylvania operating agreement. And while an operating agreement is now required by Pennsylvania law, it is crucial in determining how your LLC will be managed and run. And your operating agreement also helps you to avoid disputes among members by outlining things like allocation of responsibilities and assets, right? So an operating agreement has benefits. You have you can actually avoid disputes among members about who is responsible for what. You can customize your business's rules, policies, and procedures to serve your LLC's needs and interests. There's a further separation of your personal and business assets in the eyes of the court. You can create a plan of succession in case a member dies or leaves the company. You can create a procedure for the event in which you ask another member to leave the LLC. You can define your business's management structure. Either you want to have a member managed or manager managed, okay? And what should an operating agreement include? Really, you want to have your LLC's management structure. So again, member managed versus manager managed, ownership and responsibility allocation, information regarding who has the authority to act on behalf of your LLC, policies for owner departure or admitting new owners, and how dissolution will be handled, okay? Now, you can make things a lot easier with an operating agreement template, or you can actually just reach out to a professional, a lawyer, or anybody, a professional service to kind of help you out. And we actually advise you to also think about having an operating agreement, even if you're the only owner, because again, it's all about laying a strong foundation for your company, especially if you are going to invite another member in at a later date. Let me now talk to you about step number 5, actually applying for an EIN, an FEIN or EIN. So in order to pay taxes for your LLC, you will need an employer identification number or EIN, much like a social security number. This is a number that actually identifies your LLC, and you are able to do it vis-a-vis the IRS, right? And this is actually sometimes referred to as an FEIN. So when you hear the term EIN or FEIN, same thing. An EIN is not just needed for paying business taxes either. You will also need one to conduct other types of businesses, such as opening a business bank account. So this is kind of important. And you have services that can really help you out. But one thing I need to say here is that you can actually do things yourself. You can just go online and just register. You go to the IRS website. It's really fast. You got to register for Pennsylvania business taxes. Depending on your specific business activities, your LLC may need to report things like sales and use tax or employer withholding. In order to register your LLC for state tax and employer account, you'll need to complete the Pennsylvania Enterprise Registration Form, the PA-100. And so this form enables Pennsylvania LLCs to establish multiple accounts, including employer withholding tax, 1099, promoter license, public transportation assistance tax license, sales, use, hotel occupancy tax license, tobacco products license, transient vendor certificate, unemployment compensation, use tax wholesaler certificate, and vehicle rental tax. And also the thing here is that you are basically, so there's something also called electronic tax information and data exchange service. Employers can file and pay state taxes online by using Pennsylvania's electronic tax information and data exchange service, so the e-tides. Okay, and one thing else, you can also basically open a business bank account, and you are able to manage your Pennsylvania LLC's finances a lot better if you have a clear idea. Okay, and it's also important to understand that your EIN also helps you out if at a later date you want to convert your LLC into, say, an S corporation or a C corporation. Let me actually quickly sort of close to this conversation by answering a few questions in terms of having an LLC in Pennsylvania. So the thing is, as of the date of this show, actually filing for an LLC in Pennsylvania will cost you $125 for your certificate of organization, $125. So you may also pay additional fees for things like reserving your business name if you choose to do so, or securing a fictitious business name, and expediting your filing speed will also result in additional fees. So it's one of those things where you have to really pay attention to what really works for you. Okay, and if you have an LLC in Pennsylvania, you actually don't pay taxes at the federal level because an LLC is considered a pass-through entity, right? It means what? It means earnings and profits are passed through to the members and claimed on their individual tax returns as personal income without first being taxed on the business level. So there are no separate federal income taxes for an LLC as a business unless the owners choose to have it taxed as a corporation, as a C corporation, that is. In other words, they will have to file Form 1120. Okay, and it's really important to understand that when you talk about basically taxes you may have to pay, I gave you earlier the list of taxes you may have to pay at the state level, right? Employer withholding tax, promoter license, public transportation assistance taxes and fees, sales use and hotel occupancy and tax, and so on and so forth. And the statewide sales tax rate in PA is 6%. So now if you sell items in Allegheny County, there is an additional 1% for like a 1% local tax, and in Philadelphia, a 2% local tax also applies. Local sales tax also applies. Okay, so in addition to taxes paid to the state, you also need to pay federal self-employment and payroll taxes to the IRS, and business taxes, even for an LLC, can get complicated. So it's always better to consult a tax professional for guidance. You can reach out to a CPA, certified public accountant. You can reach out to an EA, enrolled agent, or you can reach out to a tax attorney for further guidance. And one thing I also need to say here is that you might need to have licenses and insurance, like depending on the industry you're in. And it's one of those things where you have to really refer to what the state authorities are saying, or what the local regulations in Pennsylvania are saying about licensing and let's say insurance for certain corporations. Thank you so much for your attention. I really appreciate it. In today's conversation, I was just talking to you about how to start an LLC in Pennsylvania. So the 5 steps here are: you have to name your PA LLC, designate a PA registered office, file PA certificates of organization, you have to create an operating agreement, and then you have to apply for an EIN. Thank you so much. God bless you. I'll speak to you another time. Until then, remember, stay marvelous.